Hello and welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guest on this next interview. The European Union has launched SAFE, a 150 billion euro defense financing instrument aimed at boosting industrial capacity and strategic autonomy. At the heart of this initiative stands Poland, positioned as both frontline state and emerging defense industrial hub. Joining us today on TVP World to assess the broader implication is Andréas C. Hatzidiakos, Director of OPEWI, Europe's War Institute. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Good evening.
So taking a look at the SAFE, can it be best understood as some sort of strategic breakthrough for Europe or as more of an emergency response to an extraordinary circumstance?
Well, I want to say first that this is genuinely historic. The EU has been investing in defense for the past decade. The difference now is that this SAFE mechanism, which is actually not a fund or it's actually a loan facility backed by EU-level borrowing on capital markets that will allow to fund urgent and large-scale joint procurements with a focus on closing critical capability gaps. This is really historical because it really supercharges European defense budget. It does not replace them, it really supercharges them, right? And in the case of Poland, which received the largest allocation of any other EU member states, even of 2 or 3 member states combined, this is really historical. Poland has been investing quite heavily in defense. It reached 4.8% of GDP in its defense budget. And now this is really responding. The EU is really hearing Poland's needs. It's really hearing that Poland has some strategic realities. It's at the frontiers. It borders Russia, Belarus, Ukraine. Poland needs this loan. It needs that in order to really rearm and also modernize its military.
All right. Can you help us understand whether this SAFE would complement NATO's structure, or will there be any sort of overlap?
SAFE really isn't, as I said, any defense fund. The idea is to help EU countries invest more, invest better, and invest together. The idea is to allow all EU countries, whether they benefit from these SAFE loans, to go through joint procurement, buy missiles, ammunition, drones, naval capabilities, invest in cyber, and really develop their investment. So it's not. I would say it's the same track. Whatever is going to reinforce European military investments is also going to reinforce NATO. So this goes also for Poland. Whatever investment Poland is doing in its defense is going to reinforce Europe's defense, and it's also going to reinforce NATO.
Right. So like you mentioned, this is a very crucial mechanism which is going to help boost defense. However, we do see some European countries rejecting this SAFE mechanism, and there are critics on it as well. Can you help us understand that side of the argument?
Of course. So this mechanism is very beneficial to some countries. Why? Because the idea of this mechanism is to allow some countries to benefit from EU's preferential rates when it borrows on the market, right? So not all countries need these preferential treatments or rates. Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden do not need that because they can borrow at approximately, I would say, the same rates. Also, what we have to understand is not that because Germany or the Netherlands or Sweden do not want to benefit from these loans that they will not engage in joint procurements with other countries, potentially even Poland. Then, of course, there are other countries, for example, Luxembourg, Malta, Slovenia, that have a very small defense budget and I would say limited procurement pipelines. So this makes the administrative efforts of applying for safe loans not worth the modest sums involved, which again does not impede those countries to do some joint procurement projects with other countries that benefit from a safe loan. So all in all, I say that we cannot see this as negative, right? Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden not benefiting from the loans, or even Ireland and Luxembourg, Malta, Slovenia, because at the end of the day, joint procurement projects will happen with all of these countries.
Right. Are there legitimate concerns about that sustainability or some long-term fiscal trade-off for the participating states?
This is something that has been raised by Germany, Netherlands, and Sweden, and the calculation is indeed a little bit different on one level. As I said, Germany borrows at rates that are close or comparable with what the EU itself achieves. Ideologically, Germany and the other countries have a deep-seated, I would say, long-standing principle that EU collective debt is a dangerous precedent. We did it with the Next Generation EU during the COVID pandemic, and those countries feel that this is a one-off, that it should not be repeated. Why? Because they have a structural fear that once we normalize EU-level borrowing, we create pressure for some countries to eventually guarantee all the other countries' debts. I don't believe this is something that we should be worried about. Now we need to invest as Europeans, as Polish, as French, as Greeks. We need to invest in defense. We need to rearm ourselves. We need to modernize our equipment. We need to make it more interoperable. And this comes with necessary sacrifices. We need to borrow through the EU. We need to make some investments and buy more European, build more European. We need these loans as much as we need all the other EU initiatives and funds that the EU has developed.
Right. Speaking of modernization and buying European, using European stuff, how feasible do you think this SAFE can genuinely enhance Europe's technological sovereignty, or do you see the reliance on non-EU systems still persisting?
If we are realistic, we cannot be totally independent, right? So we are trying today to reshape European strategic autonomy, and this needs to come with some realistic and pragmatic things in our heads. And this is what the SAFE mechanism does, right? It strikes a balance. The 65% rule means that no more than 35% of component costs may originate from outside the EU or EEA, EFTA countries, or even Ukraine. This is the Buy European First rule. This allows for the 35% remaining this allows European countries to buy some non-essential EU parts, for example, US chips or engines or whole systems from the foreign countries if they're unavailable in Europe. This is being pragmatic. I mean, European industry is growing, it's going strong, but there are some systems, there are some components that we cannot produce at the same level than other countries for the moment. So I think on the short term, it's not realistic to say that we will be able to fully modernize our armies. And the idea is not to go totally independent, because this is not something that is feasible. The idea is really to try to create some strategic autonomy to be able to not fully depend on other countries, be it the US, South Korea, or other countries for even the smallest of components.
And in the long term, do you see SAFE becoming a permanent pillar of EU security policy, or do you think this is inherently tied to the current war context?
I think that, well, first of all, the SAFE is one of the pillars of the European Commission's Readiness 2030 plan that aims to unlock 800 billion euros. SAFE is the financial backbone of this package. This is sure. I believe that for the moment, this is what we need. It will all depend after 2030, 35. I think it will all depend on where we are at. The idea is being able also to better invest and better buy together after this SAFE initiative. I believe that if we want to continue to reduce fragmentation and close some critical gaps, we will need to not only have such loans, but really commit to more percentages of our GDP for defense purposes.
All right, we'll see how this turns out. But in the meantime, thank you so much for your input and insight. Really appreciate it. And thanks for being with us on TVP World.
Thank you.
Cheers. And thank you for tuning into this edition of World Talks. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.